Welcome in, everybody, to another MLS Monday by Scarves and Spikes. Tyler and Henry here with y'all as we have made it through another multi-match week, and we have Open Cup coming back this week. Lots of stuff going on. A little bit of, I think a few surprises this weekend. Overall, we got some news dropping from Tom Bogert and the crew that we're definitely going to spend a lot of time talking about. But I mean, there's no shortage of stuff going on in Major League Soccer right now.
For sure. Outside of soccer, on the field, off the field, some drama, some, just a lot of different varied things, as this is kind of the last normal year in MLS, I guess, which feels weird to say, but alas, this is where we're at.
It is indeed. We had the midweek matches, and we're gonna start off talking about the Whitecaps here in a little bit. But just off the cuff, were there any matches, whether it was midweek or this weekend, that really took you by surprise?
Yeah, I mean, there were several, and I mean, again, double the match day, double the surprises, double the fun. I guess I was shocked that Orlando
You sound like an
managed to
Oreo
score.
commercial.
What was that?
You sound like an Oreo commercial. Double the fun, double the stuffing.
I mean, it was a double match day, and double the games, double the fun. That's just it. I don't know. If someone else has a better slogan for double match weeks, then go ahead, by all means, drop them in the chat. But Orlando destroying Charlotte 4-1 was a big surprise because Orlando, again, they had been kind of bottom of the East, were not really taking off even after firing, or I guess parting ways with Oscar Pereja. Charlotte's a tough team, and yet they destroyed them. I guess LAFC not being able to score against Colorado was a bit of a surprise. And then looking at the actual weekend, Montreal winning its both of its first games after sacking Marco Donadel. So that is 2 wins in 2 games under their new interim head coach. And who knows if that's like a real, like, okay, this is an actual effect, or is this just like, okay, they hit these 2 teams, coincidentally both New York teams, at the right time. Miami is still unable to win in their stadium, which we'll talk about. Yeah, I mean, overall, just a lot of different surprises this week.
Yeah, for sure. I think to me, one of the things that continues to be just surprising, and we're going to dive into it in a little bit, is San Diego and what San Diego has going on. It's just wild that, like, the sophomore slump that they have hit is real. And it was in the title, but the slump that they've hit, I mean, they've been in it for a while, admittedly. And we've talked about it on and off, but then you have, of course, the drama with Tricky Lozano, things like that going on. I wasn't expecting it. I was not expecting San Diego to be where they're at right now. But I think the big news right now is definitely going to be the Save the Caps movement, the whole kind of, I don't want to say that it was like a Tom Bogert bomb, because like the Vancouver Whitecaps have been in this situation now for a year and a half almost. So it's not new news, but the reporting from Tom is really good, and I think Paul as well, really good. But I'm gonna hand the floor to you. You take it and run with it because you've got all the details.
Yeah, so just a little bit of context. It was about like the end of 2024, I believe, where it came out that the Vancouver Whitecaps were up for sale, right? That basically, this was before, mind you, their 2025 season where they kind of took off and started, going ham. But yeah, that they were up for sale. Fast forward to present day, there is no resolution yet. Their ownership group just put out a statement that said, they're still looking at options. That they would like to keep the Whitecaps in Vancouver, so they're trying to find any buyer that would commit to that. But that as of right now, they don't have a resolution yet, which obviously they need to figure that out sooner rather than later. Because if not, MLS is going to have to step in. In fact, MLS has already kind of started stepping in because it came out. Tom Bogert and Paul Tenorio of The Athletic broke the news that earlier this month, a special committee of MLS owners met to evaluate the future of the Vancouver Whitecaps. And among the topics discussed was the possibility of relocating the franchise to Las Vegas. Now, what one of the things that Tom and Paul mentioned in their story is that there was an investment group, a Vegas-based investment group, that laid out a $10 billion development plan on the Vegas Strip, which would include a 50,000 seat stadium for this potential relocation of the Whitecaps. Uh, but apparently, that is not who MLS has been engaging with, or who they have been, you know, talking about in these meetings for the potential relocation of the Whitecaps. Um, so, just for a bit of context, this would be the first time since 2006 that MLS relocates a team. 2006, the San Jose Earthquakes were relocated to Houston, and then obviously the Quakes reappeared a couple years later. But that was kind of the last time that has happened. If no buyer comes out for the Vancouver Whitecaps that would keep them in Vancouver, then it seems like their future is going to be elsewhere. And let me make this very, very clear that the Whitecaps leaving Vancouver would be a tragedy to the sport because of just how important they are to the community there, because they have such a big, like such an important close knit community, a following there that just kind of, it is very much a city that loves its soccer and that loves their club, and that they have supported through, not, not the great times, and now obviously now that the team's doing well, they're behind their team. But even before then, when they were a middle table team or a bottom table team, right? Before they started competing for CONCACAF Champions Cup and MLS Cup, and when you were there through the rough times as well as the good times, it shows you just how important that team is to the people there. And it's why this Save the Caps movement has come out. Soccer is a, I'll speak from what I feel. Soccer is an important part of my life. Soccer is something that I love, and I would feel heartbroken if the club that I have followed for years, suddenly I was told that club was just going to leave, and then, have a bunch of scarves on my wall. What do I do with that? Right? I've kind of invested so much of my time and my energy and my passion into something that now is kind of being snatched away from me. I don't pretend to know what folks in Vancouver are going through, but that is just kind of my reaction and my emotions as I'm listening to this. So I'm heartbroken for Vancouver Whitecaps fans. I hope that the club stays in Vancouver. I hope that, there's a resolution soon to all of this, because yeah, this is sad. This would be losing some serious MLS and Canada soccer heritage.
Yeah, I think, to me, that's what's at the heart of it, right? We saw successfully the Columbus issue a few years ago, right? Save the Crew, and it was for very different reasons, admittedly, but it it turned out to be one of the best things to ever happen to Columbus Crew, for sure. This is a much more convoluted situation, for sure. Um, Everything you just said, Vancouver has been around for quite a long time. This is not an expansion team that popped up in Major League Soccer, within the past decade. Vancouver has been around for many, many years. So, um, they're they are a part of that city. Now, have they become a lot more relevant in the past few years? Certainly, especially now you have a guy like Thomas Muller coming in, but before he got here, they were already well on their way to like a historic season anyway. So it it's a really, really frustrating situation because just from the like thinking with my heart, not my mind type, you know, mindset, like you have all of this history there. You have a deep rooted fan base that are being very vocal about what they want and what they don't want. And I don't know that you're going to find a fan of a sports club anywhere that's going to be like, yeah, let's just up and move. No, but I mean, I see this being kind of the first thrown stone of many when it comes to how the fans react and how loud they get about this. Because already, because I think Tom dropped this news earlier today, if I'm not mistaken. The the reception has been and I don't want to say positive or negative because it depends on which way you're looking at it, but it has been outstanding. It has been prevalent. It has been everywhere. More than a few people are already calling for Ryan Reynolds to step in, do what he's got to do. The thing about it, though, the amount of money that it's going to take to make this happen, to keep it in Vancouver, is ridiculous. This is not like what Ryan and Rob did with Wrexham, where they were able to come in and it was a significant chunk of change for them for sure. This requires like a billionaire or a consortium of multimillionaires to make something happen, which is why the Las Vegas side of things on paper looks the most attractive, right? Because you've got interest and you have a location that it's going to have naturally people, it's going to have fans, it's going to have money flowing in a way that is better than Vancouver's been able to have so far. But you're going to lose so much if you make that move. And personally, I hate it. I don't want to see Vancouver go anywhere at all. The board of commissioners or the MLS owners group, whatever you want to call them, they have to approve whatever move happens. But they can't realistically look at an offer in Vegas that's significant and essentially no offer, no viable offer is what the Whitecaps put out today in Vancouver to keep it in Vancouver and have any real leeway to be like, well, we're going to block this move to Vegas. Can't really do that because come the end of 2026, they're not going to have a place to play in Vancouver. So time is definitely of the essence, and it is ticking away pretty quickly. So you hope that maybe the reporting pushes something along. Maybe it gets into the ears of somebody that wasn't really quite aware of it. Um, was looking up a couple of names, a couple of groups that could realistically, and this is just speculation, but like would have the money to be able to make this happen. You've got I think it's Aquilini family. They're the ones that own the Canucks and Rogers Arena. Uh, Jim Pattison, he's just a rich dude, but he's also like 100 years old. Uh, the guy that I think owns Lululemon is a Vancouver billionaire. So there's that.
Huh.
And then you have a whole bunch of other consortiums and things like that. So, like, those are some names, those are some groups, right? But the interest has to be there. And you have to hope, if nothing else, the reporting today, the statement by Vancouver, and then the fans' outcry gets it to somebody who could match or give some kind of I don't know, some kind of offer, something that they could do, even if it's working with the city of Vancouver somehow, some way to keep that club where it belongs.
Yeah. Yeah, just don't move. Just don't move the Whitecaps, man. Don't move the Caps. Um yeah, I don't have anything else to say there. I will add a little bit of context though, because you did mention the stadium issue. For those of you who are not aware, the Whitecaps lease with BC Place expires at the end of 2026, which means they've got to find a new place to play. Uh, the club had been looking at potentially some other options for a stadium or other grounds that they can play at, but between that and obviously this issue of the club being up for sale, uh, it's kind of two issues that are really pushing the idea that, well, maybe this club is headed to another city, which would be a real shame again. So there's that. I do want to mention the Caps are doing great in MLS this season. They're second in the West with, I believe it's 22 points. I've got to check. But they have been absolutely killing it. 3-1 win over Colorado this weekend. 24 points, my bad. Their new signings are popping off. Jake Sabali scored a second goal in under 300 minutes for the Whitecaps. And then Bruno Caicedo, who I was very excited about. I've talked about last week. I'll talk about again because he looks legit, man. He's fast. He's got kind of personality and confidence on the ball. Like he had a goal that was disallowed because of a handball, but honestly, I wish it would have stayed on because just his fight to get that goal. If you haven't watched it, basically he drives into the box, like beats out a guy in a foot race, hits a shot that's saved by the keeper, and then it bounces back to him, and it like he's on the ground, he's like falling, and he still manages to put it in the net. But it hits his hand, so it's disallowed. Rightly so. But yeah, it's a shame. So that would have been a second goal in like 140 minutes, which is insane. But he has 2 assists. He got literally minutes after that play. He assists Brian White by literally beating a guy on the outside, going, driving into the box, and then across a perfect cutback to Brian White. So yeah, it's like the Whitecaps are hitting with their signings. They've built an amazing. They already had a good roster going into the season. Well, they've only gone and bolstered it and made it more competitive. So that's a huge credit to the organization that, despite this uncertainty about where will the club be playing in a year's time and 2 years' time, that they're still fully committed to the project and that they're making the best of what they have, and they're giving their fans the best that they can up until the end. So the Whitecaps will not play at home again until August 1st when they host LAFC, because BC Place is a World Cup venue and they will need to make some adjustments to it before the tournament and then after the tournament to return it to its normal state. So the Whitecaps have quite a road stretch ahead of them.
And that's, I think, what's so amazing about Vancouver last year and this year, because again, this all goes back to before the beginning of 2025. For them to come out and do what they've done last year and then so far this year it's just outstanding. They are playing really fun soccer, really good soccer, because you can have fun soccer and it just ain't working, but they're doing both. And I really do hope that something good happens for them to be able to figure this out. And before we move on, because we've kind of bumped around it a little bit, I'll just read the statement that Vancouver did put out about an hour ago. It was not long before we went live on the show, but their statement was, "We're aware of today's reporting. The club has faced well-documented structural challenges around stadium economics, venue access, and revenue limitations that have made it difficult to attract buyers committed to keeping the team in Vancouver. Over the past 16 months, we have had serious conversations with more than 100 parties. And to date, no viable offer has emerged that would keep the club here. It remains the strong preference of this ownership group to find a solution in Vancouver. If there is a local ownership group with the vision and resources to chart a path forward, we urge them to come forward. Which I think is a little different than what you would expect most like milk toast kind of PR speak to say. They're essentially asking, like put the word out. Help us, because we want to make this work. And kudos to them for at least trying. And by them I mean the other ownership group. Um, but it's a tough situation. It's a really tough situation, but I hope for the fans' sake that they're able to make this work and they keep it there. They get a better place to play than BC Place because there are so many things that that's all. It all ties into the reasoning, but they don't make any money on food and drinks. Like there's just so many little things about it that, as far as it affects their valuation and their you know bottom dollar. So those are all reasons. The fans don't care about the reasons. The fans want their team to stay in Vancouver, and you just have to hope somebody can come in and make that happen. All right. Moving on. You brought up a minute ago, speaking of historical teams that have moved in Major League Soccer, you brought up one San Jose. San Jose is having a totally different kind of historic season right now. 9 wins in 10 matches. They're at the top of the Shield race, leading MLS in goals scored. What are they doing right over in San Jose?
I mean,
Everything.
they're doing a lot right. And they've got to be the biggest surprise of MLS in 2026 because when you in an offseason lose the star power, the combined star power of Chicho Arango, of Joseph Martinez, two of the most prolific strikers that the league has seen in recent years. And then also you forget to pick up the option on Christian Espinoza, and he goes to Nashville when he's been your most creative player for like 5 seasons or something like that. Well, it turns out that was the best thing you could have forgotten to do because you're doing fine without him. And you're doing fine without these 3 guys. And oh wait, you brought in Timo Werner. Well, there's no way Timo Werner is going to be good in MLS, right? Like he was crap in Europe for a while. Like he wasn't really doing anything. Like there's no way he comes here and suddenly he's good. Suddenly he has 4 goals and 5 assists. And this team is just playing a really effective brand of soccer. And obviously Timo Werner is a factor because he's got star power and experience, and he just adds so much speed to the Quakes. Like you see what he does when he gets the ball, he's able to just drive forward so quickly and get to the box. And whether he's playing as the 9 or he's playing as a winger, he's able to create danger anywhere in and around the box. He has really been an important part of what the Quakes have done this season. But also you got to give credit to Bruce Arena. Bruce Arena has tons of championship experience in MLS, and he's showing it with the San Jose side, where he is trusting some more kind of younger players, some players that are kind of more in the background that you maybe didn't have on your radar as much. He's giving them the chance to step up, and they have done so beautifully. Nico Sakiris, who is a homegrown, San Jose homegrown, 20 years old, he has really come into his own, and he's become a phenomenal chance creator with 6 assists already. He's tied for second in the league in assists. And so he's been important to this team. Osani Buddha has been fantastic as well. Jamar Ricketts has been great on their back line. You just have just a bunch of players that are coming together and are making this team just they're pushing what we thought this team could be, essentially. And it's not like they didn't need to go and get oh, I'm gonna go grab a Rodrigo De Paul, or I'm gonna go grab a Son Heung-min, or I'm gonna go grab some other big names. No, we're doing it with a starting 11 that's mostly American nationals, and that at its core is what MLS was meant to be, right?
That
Was
is
to
very Bruce Arena.
Yeah, that is what the MLS was meant to be, to promote American talent and to give you know to give them a chance to grow and to develop in a competitive environment. Well, that is coming to fruition, and San Jose is a phenomenal example of that. And Bruce Arena is doing it again. Like, this guy has been around literally since game one of MLS. He was coaching DC United against San Jose in that first game, and it's kind of a full circle moment. Now he's going to try to immortalize himself again with this team. And so the question that I asked in the notes is, will the Quakes win a trophy this year? I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, 100%. If you ask me what trophy,
Open Cup?
I mean, it would be hard to bet against them for sure. I think that's the easiest one. Who do they play, by the way, this week?
They play Minnesota on Wednesday.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the Open Cup here in a little bit. But yeah, I think you would be hard pressed to find a more favorite out of the teams that are in the Open Cup at this point. But man, the way they're playing, I would not be shocked to see them take the Shield, because they're doing the job against some very tough teams as well. That's the thing, right? Their schedule hasn't been weak. What, they beat LAFC, what, like 4-1?
Yes.
No, and I get there was, you have a few factors around that, but still, I mean, what other team has done that this year or last? It's not something that happens very often. But Steven, that's what I'm saying. Like, they beat LA.
They beat LA.
Yeah, they've done it. It was interesting this week because St. Louis, I thought, gave them a wild run for their money. Of course, they're playing in St. Louis, so you got home field advantage. St. Louis beat them pretty much in every statistical category that matters, except for the final score. I mean, double the shots. St. Louis had one more shot on target. They had possession, more passing. The accuracy was better. But what it came down to is, I mean, look, St. Louis had 2 goals in less than a minute, or right at a minute. And Bruce Arena's side, though, if you look at the way that San Jose's played this year, one constant, no matter what, has been that they are absolutely ruthless, tenacious. And you saw it. And you mentioned earlier about Timo Werner coming in. And yeah, that's a benefit, right? Like, but he came in after what, a handful of games had already been played.
He came in match 2 because he played against Atlanta, but
That's right.
he got injured, and so he missed a few games, and then I think this is like his second or third game back.
Okay, yeah. But I think even in the beginning, we were all kind of saying, like, well, he's taking a little bit of time to get going, which you expect, whatever. This team was doing everything without Timo Werner. They were already playing. It's kind of like Vancouver before Thomas Muller got there. Vancouver was a good team already. They were doing the job. But then you bring in a guy that he accentuates the team that's already there. And I think we've seen some big names come in over the years that you think, all right, this is a game changer. And then they just don't settle in with the team. Olivier Giroud being one. They haven't had this problem. Timo Werner settled in, and now that's just the cherry on top for Bruce Arena at this point, because even without him, they were doing the job. So yeah, I think at this point, match day, what, 9? 10? I would put them as the favorite to win the Shield.
All right. Those are strong words, but I mean, they are leading. They are 3 points clear of the Vancouver Whitecaps, who are on 24 points but have a game in hand. So just be on the lookout for that. And we'll see kind of where they go from there. I will say, though, you mentioned Olivier Giroud, and I will point out that when you sign a big name player like Giroud, or really think about your Higuains, think about some of these other players that your Pirlos, some of these other players that maybe came to MLS and didn't pan out. There's a big difference. There's a big difference between signing a player for their name and signing a player who will complement your style of play and that is right for what you're trying to build. And Bruce Arena is not going to sign off on, well, by the way, he is also the sporting director. I should mention that. So he's the one making the acquisition decisions as well as the coaching decisions. He has a very clear vision of what he wants to play. So he knows, okay, I want to play a very transition, quick counterattack style. What do I need? I need someone that can, quickly turn the ball and get forward and be vertical. And so if Timo Werner was not that guy, he would not have signed Timo Werner.
Yep.
He signs Timo Werner not just because he's a name, a big name, but because he is a player that is going to slot into this team and instantly, play within its style and just boost that capability that San Jose is trying to do. And you've seen him do that beautifully. And that's why things are working out with them. So, yeah, it's totally the right decision. And I'm looking at Jack's comment. In my opinion, San Jose will not be able to sustain this form. MLS always changes at the end of the season. I think Vancouver now lives here in it for the Shield. That's a good point, because it was the same story as Vancouver last season, where Vancouver, I think up until the CONCACAF Champions Cup final, they were leading the Shield, and then they dropped off after that loss. Sometimes it does take one loss to kind of send a team stumbling. So I guess we'll see when that stumbling block comes. But right now, they have been absolutely dominant. They've got 25 goals so far on the season. So they've been just absolutely killing it. And they don't seem to show signs of stopping. So we'll see. They've been really shaking things up so far.
Yeah. Jack also saying, but they're playing really good football. I just don't think they have good depth. We'll see. We'll see, because it is MLS. You just never know. I just think
I didn't even think they had a good starters at first.
I didn't either. And to the point about like bringing in a player that does or does not fit, I think like we'll go back to the Olivier Giroud example. That was 100% hey, it's Olivier Giroud. He should come here and he should make the team better. Never in a million years did Olivier Giroud fit the type of football that LAFC play at all. Like that was never going to be a match made in heaven. I think in that case they got a little on their high horse in terms of being like, well, we've made these big signings, we can make another one and it should work out. And it didn't. But just because you should doesn't mean, or just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that's I think kind of where that went wrong. But this is one. Yeah, I mean, this like Timo Werner drops in and doesn't have to do much of anything different except play better than he was in Europe. But he's put in a position to do that, and he's already shown. I mean, the numbers that he's put up in the past few weeks it's insane. That's insane. So good for them. Somebody else who is stepping up. Finally,
about time.
Finally. I'm going to let you take this one off the rip, because you have been very critical of this individual down in Southern Florida.
Yeah. So, in case you've been living under a rock for the past few months,
we're not watching our show.
Inter Miami won MLS Cup last season. They had a killer squad going into the season. Expectations were super high. Oh, they got to win CONCACAF Champions Cup, right? They've got to repeat MLS Cup. They've got to get the support. They got to win everything, basically. And so they go and they have an offseason that I think everyone thought was the best offseason ever, basically. Yep. You sign goalkeeper of the year, Dan St. Clair. You bring in Mikael to reinforce your back line. You signed Sergio Reguilon to replace Jordi Alba, which I never thought that was going to be a really good replacement, but whatever. And then the big one though is you signed Herman Berterame for I think 14 or 15 million to be your new center forward. Right? He had been killing it in Liga MX, I think with Monterrey, and now he's leading the line on a team with Lionel Messi. Like you expect, oh my gosh, these guys are going to be unstoppable. They're going to be scoring like 7 goals a game or something like that. Well, not really. We get to the season start and it's a whimper for him, right? It's like his first 7 games of the season and he only manages a goal and 2 assists. Just not doing what they brought him to do, so much so that he ends up getting benched by the end of Javier Mascherano's tenure, and he starts playing Luis Suarez in favor of him. Keep in mind, Luis Suarez was benched last season in favor of Tadeo Allende and eventually Matteo Salvetti. So that's a huge indictment of this guy, and we're all thinking like, okay, was Berterame a bust? Is he going to end up being the biggest bust of this year? Well, Javier Mascherano leaves. In comes Guillermo Hoyos, who takes charge as Inter Miami's interim head coach. And suddenly, in the team's first three games under Hoyos, Berterame now has 2 goals and 1 assist. He is starting to come into the form that we expected of him. He scores the 1 goal late in this game against the Revs to tie and take a point. And again, I mean, his first goal, I believe, was a header. I mean, he's doing the right things. He clearly just needs a little bit of that confidence, and I think that's what he was missing, was some of the confidence, maybe from the coach, but definitely from himself, as he wasn't hitting the ground running immediately. Well, now he has that, and the question is, can he keep that going? Because Miami need him. As I mentioned, 3 games under Hoyos, also 3 games for Miami in their new stadium called New Stadium. Yeah. And 3 games that Miami has not been able to win. They're still waiting for their first win in their new home. That could come this weekend, though, as they host their big rivals, Orlando City. If you don't beat Orlando, I don't know what you're doing, because Orlando is not very good.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. No, I think I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Miami-Orlando match later, but I would still be cautiously optimistic if I were a Miami fan, because Hoyos hasn't come in and made wholesale changes necessarily, but it's started to work. It started to click for Berterame, right? So like, if it just was a matter of like he just needed some time to settle in, and that was it, because you don't have many other excuses. You don't have the excuse of I'm not getting service. Well, that's horse crap, because you have Lionel Messi standing
the best player ever.
Yeah. So you can't use that. But for whatever reason, it just didn't click. And, you know, like some of the reporting that's come out since Mascherano left has been pretty damning for the kind of relationship between the front office and the coaching staff, or coaching staffs that have been there before, Tata Martino as well. Are there issues kind of where the front office wants things to go, where the coaching staff is taking things, whoever that may be at the time? I don't know. But for whatever reason, he's kind of figured something out over the past couple of matches. The reason I say cautiously optimistic is because it still hasn't been enough to get wins, you know? And you kind of get in that weird catch-22 where it's like, all right, well, your star striker started to score goals, but because you're trying to force things to him and through him, is that leaving out, goals and assists, goal contributions from others who actually may have been able to contribute more to where you actually are winning games, to where you're able to snag that extra goal or whatever. Um, is he changing the whole dynamic of the team just simply because he's that guy that was brought in that you need to get the ball to and you're trying to force things? Could they be better off playing how they did last year, being a little more balanced? You've you've got Messi, and Messi can bail you out of many, many situations, obviously. Um, so I don't know. It's a couple of games and it's the numbers you expect, but it took a while to get there. So if I'm a fan of Miami, I'm looking at this and saying, all right, I need more of this. I need a few more weeks of consistency. And then I'll start feeling like, all right, this worked out. I kind of go to the Rodrigo de Paul side of things. The same way you've been all over Bertarame in the beginning, I've been the same way about RDP since he got here. I think it's been very inconsistent. He's had some matches where he looks exactly like who he's supposed to be. And then he has some matches where he just makes some of the most boneheaded mistakes or just disappears. And that's not good enough for that team. So we'll see. But I think no matter what, no matter how you look at it, most people can agree that Miami is underperforming at the moment, vastly.
Heavily.
So we'll see. We'll see. Um, all right. Now on to the absolute biggest mollywhopping of the weekend. Chicago, as you so eloquently put in the notes, scorched Sporting Kansas City 5-0, which brings Chicago to 4 wins in 5 matches. They're third in the East with 17 points. But 5 goals on a Sporting Kansas City team that, for all the reporting that was done about Vancouver and the things going on there, Tom also dropped some nuggets about SKC that were not fun to hear if you are anywhere around Kansas City. So we'll start with Chicago though. What's Chicago doing right? Because you were pretty high on them going back to the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I think in my predictions I had them. I don't know if I remember if I said top 4 or if I said 4th place. But I'm feeling pretty good about the pick, honestly. Uh, and what has happened basically is they have reinforced defensively is kind of what we've been talking about. Uh, kind of uh, to start this season, uh, even before Atlanta played them, which is when we really analyzed them on this show and our main show. But they had been very staunch at the back, and yeah, I mean when you already had a very experienced defender in Jack Elliott, he's still doing very very well. Andrew Gutman's on that back line; he's doing a lot for you, both on both sides of the ball. You have and then Chris Brady, who is U.S. men's national team goalkeeper, uh, and also just one of the better ones in MLS. You have a team that is set up to be very solid defensively, and give you a very good base going forward. Last season, this team was already very good up front. You had Hugo Kuipers, who I forget his goal tally, but it was double digits for sure. You had Philip Zinkernagel, who was in the running for newcomer of the year, but got beat out by an Anders Dreyer, who was just an absolute fire. He's back and absolutely chugging. I think 4 goals and 3 assists for Zinkernagel, 8 goals, 1 assist for Kuipers, and Kuipers missed a little bit of time due to injury as well to start the season. But it's just all around the squad. They have the potential to just create danger and to just dominate games, and that's what they've done. And again, Sporting Kansas City, man, they're not a team that is hard to dominate. I don't know if you want to get into that now or if you want to talk about Chicago before we move on to the crap that's going on in Kansas City.
No, you keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
Okay, and Jack Dickens, I agree. Gutman is so underrated.
Yep.
I would argue that he's one of the top 5 left backs in MLS right now. And that might be that might not be enough, but we'll see. Kansas City, let's talk about them. This is their 5th straight loss in MLS this season. They were embarrassed in the U.S. Open Cup by Colorado Switchbacks. They lost 3-0. And it's not like they fielded like a B team or anything, because they don't have a B team. Let's be clear, okay?
No.
they have the players they have. They had to get rid of a bunch of players this offseason, and they didn't really make any replacements. And we were all scratching our heads as to, okay, why is this team going into the year with no improvements? Well, per Tom Bogert, if y'all recall, last season, Sporting Kansas City made the big change when longtime head coach Peter Vermees stepped away. Peter Vermees was head coach and sporting director. So when he, who was here for 17 years, or at Sporting Kansas City for 17 years,
which is wild, by the way.
Yeah. When he leaves and SKC needs to replace him, they get David Lee to take over as chief soccer officer. Turns out Kansas City had zero scouting department or analytics department. They had no one in those positions. It was literally all Peter Vermees. I don't know how he did it. I don't know if he was like going on like a Football Manager and signing like whoever looked good or whatever. But they had no scouting or analytics department, which to me, to say a professional soccer club has no scouting or analytics is insane. Even if you were run by 17 years by Peter Vermees, right? And he was calling the shots.
He has to have an assistant.
Signings. Right? How do you not inform yourself in this day and age? Inform yourself with a team of scouts and with data. That seems like malpractice of the highest degree to me. Like, how did you think this was okay? And if you're letting Peter Vermees call the shots on everything, first of all, kind of sketch. But second of all, if you are like the president or whoever was above Peter Vermees, whoever is I guess their president of soccer or whatever, and you saw this and you thought that was okay, what are you doing? What is going through your mind that you think that it's okay not to do this, to just trust that, oh, Peter Vermees is going to vibe into the best signings for this team? Clearly that didn't happen because you've been a crap show for a while now. And so basically you have no scouting or analytics department. You have to replace your head coach. You bring on Rafa Wicki as your head coach to start the season. And because you have no real infrastructure in place and you have no real team of decision makers or any sort of process or structure, it's literally just David Lee trying to scramble and make a team. They made the decision that they were going to kind of opt for this to be a transitional year where they will take their time to put into place the necessary staff and support system to then go and make your signings and make your acquisitions ahead of 2027. And instead of maybe going and panic signing a few people and risk maybe getting stuck with some long-term contracts that are going to set you back even further, which honestly I think is kind of a smart move. So I don't blame them for doing that. It's just, why are you in this situation in the first place? That's what gets me most.
Yeah, it's really strange because Kansas City, and I don't know if they're the longest running or what the stat would actually be, but they've had a local ownership group for most of their time. You know, built the stadium there, rebranded them to Sporting Kansas City back in like 2010, I think it was. But it was a group of like Kansas City businessmen. And then at the end of 2025, I believe, yeah, in December 2025, there was a deal. Uh, let's see, where essentially one of the guys purchased a majority share from the other couple of members of a local family. Anyway, didn't really change a whole lot because the main family is still running like day to day operations, which brings up a whole host of other questions about how involved you've actually been. And I guess if I were to kind of paint my own picture of how this is going on, and this is just speculation from my point, but like Peter Vermees was there. He was a staple of this team forever. With no real scouting and analytics department, you have to assume that his coaching staff and he were all kind of involved in all aspects of finding the talent that they needed to find, um, going out looking. But obviously, like there's only so much you can do without people that are dedicated to that job. I think, and I will always contend that your head coach should absolutely have a pretty big say in the type of players that they bring in and the type, like the direction of the scouting department, the direction of the analytics department, things like that. Look at Tata Martino is a good example, but we just talked about Bruce Arena, prime example right there. Um, they know what they want. They know the type of player they want. And if you can set that loose to an analytics and a scouting department and say, this is the profile I need, go find me a handful, go find me 15, 20, and we'll see what we can chip away from there. That to me is a recipe for at least some decent success. What you have in Kansas City right now, excuse me, is absolutely shambolic. I mean, that is insane that you are sitting there and you just haven't had people in these roles. That's crazy to me. As a sports organization, how can you expect it to be taken seriously if that's the kind of effort that you're putting in? And yeah, I know that it was mentioned that like rather than rush things, you take a season and whatever. Dude, it is the World Cup here in the US this year. And yeah, the maybe the cards just fell in a way that it just didn't work out for SKC with everything that was going on. But man, you got to put more effort in. You have to put more effort in. I mean, it's really embarrassing actually. Um, Omar had mentioned, I think, or who was it? Yeah, that SKC is going to go on the market once they look promising and they aren't absolute garbage. I think what's crazy to me about SKC is they can be one of the most lovable MLS franchises if they would just take themselves seriously. Like I really do think like they are so unique in ways that I'm not going to be able to eloquently put right now. But that will all fall apart if this is the path that you continue on. This is embarrassing. You need to get it right. Um, Start treating this like an actual investment and an actual club because right now it's being treated as an afterthought for sure. So there is, I mean, it makes total sense that they are where they are. And then it's also crazy because this right here, I think, encapsulates everything about Major League Soccer. You look at their record and the crap show that they have going on with, you know, firing Peter Vermees, what, a couple of years ago now, the ownership stuff, everything else. Their record is essentially equivalent to Atlanta United. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Major League Soccer in a nutshell. So, um,
Had to bring that up.
yeah, I had to. I was looking at at the record, and I was like, hmm. And here we have an owner that like legitimately loves the club. To talk to him Friday about the NWSL side, like, and he said the way Atlanta season's gone has been disappointing. And Atlanta goes the next day and actually gets a win that nobody expected they were going to get. Like, cool, taking a step forward. But nothing's going to take away that record at the moment. And SKC, man, they're in a similar boat, maybe made out of different material than the one that Atlanta United is in, but they are embarrassing themselves for a different set of reasons for sure. At least Atlanta United is trying. Could say that.
At least Atlanta's spending money. At least they have some scouts. I mean, again, I just don't understand because a scout's full-time job is basically to identify players that will be potential targets for you and go and travel and watch them play and interview them and do this whole process. If you're Peter Vermees and you are responsible for all of the first team duties, right, as far as training with the team and implementing tactics and kind of enforcing things and studying for the next game, right, your opponents and making sure you're prepared for that, how are you going to complete those duties alongside your scouting and acquisitions duties? Like, I'm not saying that you can't be a sporting director and a coach because Greg Berhalter is doing it in Chicago and Bruce Arena is doing it magnificently in San Jose. But both those guys have support systems. They have scouts that are, supporting him in those decisions. You have to delegate. I just don't see how Peter Vermees was doing it at Sporting Kansas City. Like,
YouTube.
No, come on. Okay, you can't tell me you're going to look at a highlight reel and based off of that sign a player. That just seems absurd to me. So again, that's where I'm saying that is not a serious thing, right? That is something where like you're going to get your Euro snobs that are going to come in here and be like, oh, well, what do you mean the team doesn't have a scouting department? It's not real. Like that's what frustrates me the most. Anyway,
yeah, it's not doing MLS any favors at all, for sure. And that could be a whole different topic. It was like, I mean, MLS lets each club be run how each club, for the most part, wants to run it. But I mean, I do think it might be a good idea to have, like a baseline, and the baseline should probably include at least one person in a closet that's looking at analytics and
at least one football manager nerd who like knows all the Wonder Kids or something.
Yeah, it's not hard, man. You give one of these kids that's like that does
hire
nothing.
Zilf.
Yeah, for real. Give him a job. I guarantee you'll do better than what you're doing right now. Guaranteed. It's 2026. Let's go. What are we doing here? Man, that's crazy. Anyway, okay, on to another disappointment. San Diego.
Wait, what? What do you mean San Diego's a disappointment? Weren't they the new kids last season that like, set a record and everything and we're on fire?
Those guys.
What happened to them, Tyler?
What is going on with San Diego?
Well, they've lost.
I hate this because on this show, going back to last year and this multiple times this year, I have loved watching San Diego play. But holy crap, they have hit the speed bump that has torn out the body kit on the bottom of the car. It is looking rough right now.
Rough is one way to describe it. This is their 5th loss in a row. 2-1 to the Portland Timbers, which, by the way, this is the Portland Timbers. They're not that good.
No.
Right? We had been mentioning, freaking Phil Neville as one of the candidates that's like on the hottest seat in MLS right now. Well, San Diego just did him a huge favor by giving him a win here. They are winless in 7 games. They are 11th in the West right now with a 3.52 record. Oh, how far they have fallen. And the question is like, what is going on with San Diego? one of the big topics around this club has been, and it will continue to be, at least until the situation is resolved and has a happy ending or a sad one or whatever ending it is,
An ending of some sort.
Chucky Lozano.
Yep.
The club's very first designated player. When the club was announced, basically it was announced, okay, it's Chucky Lozano's club, right? Like everyone, Chucky's our guy. They play a season. Chucky does phenomenal. He has like 10 goals, 11 assists, or something like that tune. And then they bench him.
Injured for a significant chunk of the season.
And then they bench him. And then he loses a starting spot in the playoffs. And then quiet. And then we go into the season and we find out from Tyler Heaps, yeah, so Chucky Lozano is no longer in our plans. Okay, but he's still under contract until 2028. So what are you going to do? He's the fourth highest paid player in the league. He's getting paid like $7 million or something like that. Well, they're just keeping him there. And he's at the training facility, training on his own, playing, I don't know, Despacito or something to look sad. He's being asked by the media constantly. Him and Mikey Varas are being asked, like, is there any chance of Chucky Lozano coming back? Especially as you are entering this, huge drought, this huge negative stretch. And they keep saying, no, there's no chance. His time here is over. Well, after this loss to Portland, there was a video, and I think it was a San Diego football. I'm trying to remember the actual Twitter, but there are friends over there. A video that they posted showing a bunch of fans, Snapdragon Stadium after the game it's emptying. Their supporters are chanting, El Chucky Lozano. They want Chucky back. And after that, they go into the post-match presser with Varas, Mikey Varas, and they ask him, hey, these fans have been chanting for Chucky. Is there any chance? He says, no chance. So the Chucky Lozano era at San Diego is officially over. And I think that is part of the reason that this slump is occurring. Because Chucky Lozano, whether you want to admit it or not, whether he was a locker room issue or not, whatever he did on the field, he was dynamite. On the field, he gave you so much. He was a threat. He was the perfect pairing for Anders Dreyer. Because while you have Dreyer on the right wreaking havoc, Chucky Lozano's on the other side. And he will get to the crosses. He will create danger for you. He will press. He will give you so much that now suddenly you're missing. And you've done this to yourself. You've shot yourself in the foot. Because when you tell everyone, oh, yeah, he's not in our sporting plans, but he's still under contract till 2028, well, then everyone else is going to look at you and go, okay, well, you want him bad so badly, we're going to lowball you hard.
Yeah.
And especially because this is MLS and he is one of your designated players and you can only have 3 of those, well, guess what? Now you really want to get rid of him? You're going to have to basically take chump change for him. And I think that's the situation that San Diego have found themselves in right now. I think that deep down, Tyler Heaps probably regrets saying out loud that Chucky Lozano's time with San Diego was over, that he was no longer in the sporting plans. Because he put himself, and we said this when it happened, he put himself in a very weak position to negotiate. And now San Diego FC is paying the price.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the big question is always going to be, what the freaking heck happened? Like, what did Chucky do? What's going on with that relationship with Mikey Varas? Like, what happened, right? Because I don't think it's even been alluded to. I don't know that there's any actual rumor out there as far as what happened. You have to assume it was something pretty rough, because you don't just come out like that and say, I'm basically benching this designated player permanently. I don't give a crap that he's one of the highest paid players in the league. I don't give a crap how much money we paid for him. I don't care about any of that. He's going to sit there until he decides to leave. You don't do that lightly. But I do agree. I think you have created a situation where maybe he was an issue in the locker room. Maybe there was some kind of pissing contest between him and the coach. Who knows? You've seen that with some strong, willed folks. I mean, look at Joseph and Pineda a few years ago, here in Atlanta. I don't know that that's what it was, but you've set yourself up now to where all the outside noise is going to become the story in the locker room. So is it one of those things where you have to pick the lesser of two evils? Do you put Chucky back? And then this is taking away what's been said publicly. But if I'm Tyler Heaps and I'm Mikey Virus and anybody else that has any kind of say in that organization, I think the conversation has to be, what can we do to smooth over everything that whatever issue, whatever situation happened with Chucky that put him in this position in the first place? What can we do to smooth that over and get this locker room back united? Because this team is playing like a team that has a broken locker room. You don't go from what you were doing last year. I don't know, it was mentioned in the chat. I think Scott said it. Yeah, they're doing something similar to what St. Louis did. I think the difference with St. Louis is they made some wild changes after their first year. And I know you could argue like this is a wild change, but this is like a self-inflicted, like you could play Chucky. He's still there. You didn't get rid of him yet. You could put him back on the pitch right now, and everything that you just said, him and Andres Dreyer, that's like a dynamic duo. Should be anyway. We'll see, maybe. But you've got, I think, what still could be one of the better teams in the league on paper, but you're refusing to play 1/3 of well, I say 1/3 of the DPs for whatever reason. And so now, like, yeah, it feels like a broken locker room. It feels like you just, whatever happened and the ensuing decision that was made has caused a little bit of a rift because the players are not playing like they were last year. A lot of these players are the same. The chemistry was there 100% last year. They were playing fun, attacking soccer, and it looked good. The passes were right. The flow was right. Everything was, it felt good from a neutral perspective watching a soccer team play. It felt good. They were fun. And then it was like, boom, all of a sudden it's just not happening. And then to add on to that point, this cracks me up. I love this, just from a sheer chaos standpoint. For whatever reason, San Diego loves to be involved in matches where red cards are given. Going back to their last game of last season when they got knocked out by Vancouver in the playoffs, they had a red card then. And then beginning of this season, before the season actually started in Champions Cup against Pumas ended up with a red card. The very next game, the opener, Montreal, San Diego won that one. We were like, oh, they're back where they need to be. Montreal gets a red card in that one. Fast forward a couple matches to another Champions Cup match. San Diego versus Toluca. San Diego gets a red card. Fast forward 2 more matches to the second leg of that. San Diego gets another red card. The very next game, 4 days later, San Diego gets another red card against Real Salt Lake. A week and a half later, after the international break, against San Jose, San Diego gets another red card.
What are they doing?
A week later, on April 11th against Minnesota, San Diego gets another red card.
That's
10 days later, 11 days later, they play the Dynamo, where both teams get a red card. And that is where we find ourselves with this chaos crap show of a freaking team. It is insane.
Are they just mad? Is that what
that's
this is?
Saying. Like, it feels like something in that locker room. It's almost like a kid screaming for attention at this point. Like, that is insane. That is insane. And I know not every one of those red cards were to them, but the vast majority were. The fact that you're pulling red cards like it's candy, something with the mentality is broken. And I think it really does have to do with this rift that's been caused by the whole Chucky thing.
And I think ultimately, if it was a rift between Mikey Varas and Chucky Lozano, as a club, you have the choice to back one of two sides. If it's like something like super like you cannot reconcile, like it is unforgivable, like you have the choice to back one of two guys. You could either back the manager, Mikey Varas, or you can back your star player, Chucky Lozano. Obviously, San Diego chose Mikey Varas. With the idea that, he's the coach, he set the tone for this team and led them to the best expansion season in MLS history. So obviously, like you're going there, you're feeling good because you have Anders Dreyer. You're like, okay, he's our second ace in the hole. We're still good if we just have him. And now it kind of feels like, was that the right choice? If you were going to make a choice between the two, would you rather go back in time and say, hey, maybe we do need to change the guy in charge of the team. Maybe this is maybe it's time to move on. If the riff is with him, if maybe there are other problems within the locker room, that's something that you have to ask. Again, this is just speculation on my part, but if there's a problem with Chucky, and now this is kind of continued, and there may or may not be problems with other players who are kind of feeling maybe the pressure, maybe aggression, I don't know. The common denominator at this point is Mikey Varas. And at this point, I think you have to start looking at, okay, how hot is his seat at San Diego? Because if this continues, you've got games coming up against LAFC, against Seattle, against Vancouver. These are all tough teams. It's not going to get any easier for San Diego. And the further you go down the season without turning this around, the less time you have to get yourself in a playoff position down the line. So I don't know. This is a really difficult situation. We have really no information on what's caused this. If we did, then maybe we could speculate a little bit more. We could draw better conclusions, but this is a really tough situation. And I don't know if San Diego's made the right choice here. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And hindsight will always be 2020. You wouldn't ever have fired Mikey Varas after last season, after the job that he did. Like going into 2026, all other things not considered, but like how you did in 2025, first year, that coach keeps his job for sure. But then you add in this whole other thing, and it's like, you said it a minute ago, I was thinking it as well. Tyler Heaps probably should have kept his mouth shut. Forget the negotiation part. But now you're, I think, rapidly getting to the point where you might have to eat crow, as the Southern saying is. And if you do end up moving on from Mikey Varas to help smooth something over, you'd be crazy to not then put Chucky Lozano back in the plans. But like you said, whatever he's done, whatever happened, I say he's done. I don't know that he's done anything. I don't know. But whatever happened, it is clearly, at least in somebody's eyes over there, pretty freaking significant. To the point where it's at least partially to blame for running your club in their sophomore year down to the bottom of the table or near the bottom of the table. So, I don't know. It's gonna. I think this is gonna be one of those like visions where Tyler Heaps is gonna have to make a decision that probably won't be clear until it's very clear. And if I had to get, if I was a betting man, I would say if Mikey Varas continues on this path, and things do not get better and he can't get that locker room back under control to where they're able to function as a full team and start getting results, then you might see Chucky Lozano yet playing for San Diego once again.
Before we move on from the topic, does Mike Ibarra see out the year as San Diego FC head coach?
Not at this rate. Not at this rate. You cannot go from what you had last year to what you are on route to do now and keep your job.
Agreed.
So I'll say no.
Yep.
Cool. We'll jump over to Open Cup. Brian saying Lobbing Scorchers gave us a shout out the other day on the episode up there in Seattle. Appreciate it. And they trashed the Eastern Conference as weak, which is pretty spot on for this year. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. The West is
killing it.
Brutal, dude. Overtaking the East for sure.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny because like the past, 3 or 4 years, we've referred to the Eastern Conference as a gauntlet.
Yes.
Because for the past few years, you've had Cincy playing well, Columbus playing well, Miami playing well. And then you've had kind of an interspersing of a few other clubs that were still up there, and they were giving everybody kind of a run for their money. Orlando last year.
Yeah.
Not so much this year. But yeah, you've had so many fall offs so far where it's just like, dude, there's a clear rift at this point. And that's how it goes. Like it kind of goes back and forth, right? Like the power dynamic between the conferences, but I don't think you could argue that the Western Conference so far this year is much stronger.
I would argue that the Western Conference is much stronger though, because just look, you had the teams last year that were good for the most part.
Isn't much anyway.
Yeah. The teams last year that were strong for the most part have stayed strong. Your Vancouvers, your LAFCs, your Seattle's, Minnesota's. The only one that's really dropped is San Diego. Add to that San Jose, who's been really surprisingly good, RSL, Colorado, who have shown stuff. LA Galaxy is mid-table, but they've taken off. Like they're in a position to compete now a little bit more this season, at least for entry to the playoffs. On the East side, you've had a significant level of drop off from several teams, Miami included. Mm-hmm. Even though Miami is second in the East, this tells you everything. Even though Miami hasn't had the best start ever, even though they haven't had a great start, they've still managed to be second in the East.
Yep.
Right. And then you've had fall offs, just drastic ones, from Columbus, from Orlando, from Philadelphia. Some of your other teams that were NYCFC was, I think, third in the East last season. They're kind of middle table. Cincinnati, who was second in the East, they're middle table. I mean, it's just a mix and a bit of a mess. So it's for me, the West is definitely on top.
100%. And that's the thing. Like you talk about Miami. If this Miami were playing in any of the past 3 years, they would be at the edge of the playoff line, honestly, because those prior Eastern Conference teams were just that good. So, but I will also contend that the post World Cup portion of this season is going to change, I think, the entire dynamic of how both conferences look in terms of who's in the playoff race. So we shall see.
We shall.
Now, moving on from MLS, we do have the oldest tournament in North American soccer history coming up tomorrow night and Wednesday night. And we have a handful of MLS teams, handful of USL teams. Do we have any Next Pro teams still in it? I don't think
so. Nope.
But the Open Cup is back. My favorite tournament. I love it, as anybody who watches this show knows. But we're in the round of 16, so you're not having necessarily like dual-wheeled TVs or anything like that. Like you got a couple starting at the same time on both days, but like a little easier to kind of keep track of than prior rounds. So that being said, young Henry, what do we have to look forward to in the next couple of days?
So, action starts tomorrow night, and just FYI, all matches are available on Paramount Plus. Tomorrow, Charlotte FC hosts Atlanta United at 7 p.m., and then San Jose Earthquakes hosts Minnesota United at 10 p.m. And then Wednesday, Red Bull New York versus NYCFC. That's right, a Hudson River derby in the Open Cup. That's going to be fun.
Must watch
Soccer at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. New England Revolution hosts Orlando City at 7:30 p.m. Columbus Crew versus One Knoxville SC at 7:30. Chicago Fire versus St. Louis City at 8 p.m. Houston Dynamo versus Louisville City, 8 p.m. Colorado Rapids versus Colorado Springs Switchbacks at 9 p.m. So tons of fun stuff. Potential for some cup sets. Hopefully we get a few.
I'll give you my drunken game of the whole group is definitely New England and Orlando.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that one's going to be ridiculous. But just let's go through them. Let's just give predictions. It's not like we're having to go through 150 games.
Yeah.
Charlotte and Atlanta. That's
Charlotte.
going to be the opener tomorrow. You think Charlotte just takes it?
Charlotte, yeah.
Yeah, against my I was about to say against my better judgment, but my better judgment says Charlotte wins this. I just don't know. Atlanta has look, they showed a win. It was an ugly win that almost wasn't a win. And that's the only reason we were talking about a win on our reaction show. The confidence is just not there. Charlotte is weird. Charlotte is like, I think Sydney said it the other day. He doesn't know what to make of Charlotte. I kind of agree. Like it's a box of chocolates situation. You never know what you're going to get with Charlotte on any given day. But I do think they are playing as a better soccer team than Atlanta right now. So I gotta give it to Charlotte. And then the late games, San Jose, Minnesota.
Give me the Quakes.
Yeah, all day. All day. So then kicking off Wednesday, that aforementioned Hudson River Derby. Who you got?
I'll go with NYCFC.
Me too. I kind of went back and forth on this one. And normally I would lean to the team that's going to play the better group of young folks. And as we so lovingly refer to the Red Bulls this year as Red Bull High School, I would normally say like that would be the team I would go with. But I think New York, despite some of their recent form, I still think they're playing a type of soccer that's just going to benefit them. And also, where are they playing
at? Are they not playing at a Sports Illustrated Stadium?
I don't know. I can't remember. And of course, this doesn't have it. But that could be a factor as well.
Here, I'll answer that in just a sec. They're playing at Sports Illustrated Stadium.
Okay.
In Harrison. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. I'm going to go with New York City.
Yeah, me too. I just think there's just a little bit extra quality in there.
Yeah.
And I think you've gotten to the point in the tournament where you prioritize it a little bit more. Because again, for all these teams, just four more wins, and then you have a trophy and a ticket to CONCACAF Champions Cup next season. So it's a huge incentive for all these teams.
So then moving on from that one, you got Columbus Crew and One Knoxville. Cup set potential there for sure.
Gosh.
I'm going to go. I'll give you mine while you look. I'm going to go with One Knoxville on this one. Columbus, not super convincing so far in league play, which is unfortunate considering where they've been over the past few seasons. One Knoxville, they took out DC to get here. It was a 3-3 draw. They can score. They won it in penalties. They've beat Charlotte and Independence since then, and they beat FC Tulsa this weekend as well. And FC Tulsa is no slouch either. So I think One Knoxville comes out ready to roll in this one. And low key, Knoxville has a lot of really good stuff going on in that club. I think sometimes they get a little overlooked because of some of the other USL clubs. I like One Knoxville. I think they take it.
Yeah, I'll go with one Knoxville too. I just wanted to look at the lineup that Columbus rolled out this weekend against Philly, and they did play a lot of their starters. Um, so there's a chance that they rotate in this game. Uh, and if they do, then I think that only, you know, solidifies one Knoxville as having more of a chance. But we'll see. I'll give it to one Knoxville for now.
And then again, the drunk uncle game of the week, New England, Orlando City.
New England.
Yeah, New England for sure. Chicago, St. Louis.
Chicago.
Yep. St. Louis just it's been bad for far too long at this point for me to have much of any hope. Chicago again coming off that 5-0 win as well, so like that's just a natural high. Houston Dynamo and Louisville City FC.
I'm going to say Louisville City, because if you can beat one team in Texas, then you can beat another team in Texas. And I think they're just going to carry that momentum. So let's go. Give me another Cubs set.
I wanted to say that.
But you won't.
I would like it, but I'm not. Yeah, I think Houston, and I'm judging a lot of this off of the preseason and kind of how they were doing. I mean, since then, obviously a lot has changed, but they did just beat San Diego. They beat Orlando. Whoop-de-doo on both of those. Molly-whopped El Paso Locomotive in the prior round. Going back to before that, they got the crap beat out of them by Colorado. Got squeaked by Seattle. So, I mean, I'm not really doing much for my argument here. But, I mean, I don't know. There was just something about the Dynamo team that I saw in the preseason that I think they could pull back out in Open Cup here. And
there was something I saw about Atlanta United in preseason that gave me hope too. But
That is true. Oh, how far things have fallen. But I'll stick with it. I'm going to stick with Houston Dynamo. I would love to see Louisville City take it, though. I think they've got, again, another one, kind of like Knoxville. Just a cool club, and from an Atlanta perspective, there's a little bit of history there. Not much, but a little bit. And then we got Colorado and the Colorado Springs Switchbacks.
Rapids, baby.
You think so?
Yeah.
I was actually going to go with Colorado Springs on this one.
I'm not sure I agree. I just think Colorado, the Rapids have been very good in MLS this season. They've improved. They've got depth behind what they have right now that they're able to, rely on. And so I trust them a little more going into this game, and I think they get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, those are all super, super valid reasons. This is just a feeling, honestly.
All right.
Their path to get here wasn't the most convincing because it was against Sporting Kansas City that we talked about earlier. But Colorado Springs is a team that can score goals, I will say. Out of all the USL teams that are still left in it, they probably have the highest ceiling in terms of attack. And so if you're not careful, Colorado.
Which one?
The MLS Colorado. I think if you take this Colorado Springs team for granted at all, it's going to suck for you. So we'll just have to see how seriously they take it, because that's always a factor with these MLS teams.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Rapids won't want them to spring a surprise on them, so we'll see.
Cue the music. We still have to do our matches to watch. And this is only for MLS.
Yes.
Because we've told you basically go watch the whole Open Cup because they're all going to be good, I think. But your matches to watch going into this weekend, who you got?
For me, it's going to be the LA Galaxy hosting the Vancouver Whitecaps. I believe that's the last game on Saturday in that 10:30 p.m. slot. Look, people will look and say and think that, okay, the Galaxy are a mid-table team. Like, are they really that entertaining? Well, what I'm looking at is Derek Klassiker in MLS, Marco Reus, Borussia Dortmund legend, facing off against Thomas Müller, Bayern Munich legend.
Yep.
They faced off against each other dozens of times over the past decade or so.
Yep.
And they're going to face off again. And honestly, like, both teams are in a solid spot right now where they've kind of found some footing. They found a little bit of rhythm. Don't underestimate the Galaxy. That's all I'm going to say. Don't underestimate them. I think they'll give Vancouver a good fight, and it'll be a fun game to watch.
I agree. Especially for the history that you're talking about, the Bundesliga history. For me, it's Inter Miami and Orlando City. Miami should win this. However, when Miami played Orlando earlier this year, not that long ago, in Orlando, that was probably the last time they played decent soccer. It feels like. It felt like that broke some things because they gave up, what was it, a 2-0 lead, allowed Miami to come back. And then things really fell apart from there for Orlando. Now Orlando's going back down to Miami's new stadium. And if there was a moment that you could try to turn your season around from an Orlando perspective, this is it. Go be that team that not only beats Messi, not only, beats the big superstar team, but you give them also their first loss in their stadium, their new stadium that they haven't won in yet. That's got the makings of like kind of kickstarting or at least getting yourself back on track. Is it a dream? Yeah. Do I think it's going to happen? No, but I think it's going to be entertaining or I guarantee you Orlando has not forgotten about what happened a few weeks ago. So I think this one's going to be chippy. I think it's going to be spicy. I think it's going to be fun if you're a neutral. And of course, you always have like the added benefit of like, well, you get to watch Messi play, whatever. I just think this one's going to be enjoyable overall. So
for sure, dude.
At least entertainment.
No, yeah. I mean, that's any derby, really.
Yeah.
Especially, these two teams have no love for each other. So it'll always be a fun watch. My nominee for Drunk Uncle of the week is going to be Sunday Night Soccer's clash between Austin FC and St. Louis City. Two teams that don't really convince me, that are kind of, they've had their moments, but they've been mostly meh, and anything can happen. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I think that's what I'll go with. I'll give you just an honorary mention, runner-up, if you will, Philadelphia and Nashville.
This Drunk Uncle, because Nashville's going to slap the crap out of Philadelphia.
Yeah, dude. This is going to be like full-on Philadelphia, just straight up drunk at the bar. Nashville shows up as the pissed-off mom that's got to come pick up their kid. I don't see how Philly doesn't lose this game like 4-0.
And honestly, now that you've said that, they're going to win.
Exactly. And that's why it's going to be one of the Drunk Uncle games of the week. It's going to be crazy. So watch both of those. But I do agree. Your Sunday Night Soccer for sure. That one's a good shout. Sweet. Y'all make sure to follow us on all the socials, Scarves and Spikes. Go to scarvesandspikes.com for all your Atlanta United coverage, NWSL Atlanta 2028 coming. World Cup coverage, obviously well on its way. So visit scarvesandspikes.com for that. If you are not part of our Patreon, you can join that at patreon.com/scarvesandspikes. Any of the tiers get you in our Discord, which is a lot of fun. Always talking all kinds of stuff in there, not just Atlanta. This is league, all of MLS, world soccer, things unrelated to soccer, everything else, UFC, all of it. Y'all come hop in, and lots of other benefits as well. Training ground updates, exclusives, things like that. And beyond that, also check out the World Cup series that we have going on right now. That is essentially interviews with people from journalists, media presence, everything from host cities for the World Cup. Just kind of getting a look into how their city is preparing for the tournament that is just over a month away, which is crazy to think about. So Go check out that series. We're putting up new ones every week or so. So go on the YouTube channel, check it out. Lots of good interviews on there already. We had one that went up today or yesterday with Max Bretos out in California. So that was a really good one that we did. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe, because that does help us out a lot. We truly, truly appreciate it. Forgetting anything?
Nah, man. Let's get out of here.
Let's roll. All right, extra time.
Stoppage time. Extra time is trademarked.
That's true. I forgot we talked about that. Oops. All right, stoppage time. What do we got?
Stoppage time. Are Arsenal going to win the league?
You. Shut up. Shut up.
Okay.
I didn't even see what did Man City do today? They won, didn't they?
I have no idea. Actual topic for stoppage time is that apparently there's like a drought in Atlanta, or not in Atlanta, in Georgia, which is wild.
That is wild. Yeah, like, don't turn your hose on.
Yeah. I mean, I have been wondering why it hasn't why it hasn't rained recently. It has kind of. I thought it was weird.
It is crazy. I mean, we have wildfires in Georgia. You know how crazy that is?
That's crazy,
man.
man.
Georgia is. I know it gets dry and hot here occasionally. Like, when by dry, I mean no rain, but you have humidity like year round. And so the fact that we're dealing with wildfires, that's insane to me. So if you are, all jokes aside, in anywhere around any of those wildfires, please be safe.
And with that, we'll see y'all next time.